Over the years, there have been plenty of disturbing challenges that have spread across the web, but the worst of all of them might be the Tin Roof Challenge, which we'll be discussing in depth today. In the modern day world, it seems unthinkable to purposefully do something that could spread diseases to others. But since there are so many people on the internet, there are bound to be a few bad apples that will exemplify the worst of the human race. This episode's story begins on a warm late June day in 2019, when a video began circulating on Twitter of what appeared to be a woman contaminating food at a grocery store. Captioned, "What kind of psychopathic behavior is this?" the 9-second clip begins with a man off camera egging the perpetrator on. She then proceeds to lick the open carton of ice cream before returning it to the shelf. As you can imagine, the internet did not appreciate the joke as much as the young woman seen in the video, and were sure to let the world know that they wanted mob justice. The replies immediately filled up with people expressing disgust, as well as calling for the perpetrator's arrest. Because the individual's identity wasn't publicly known at the time, she started to be known as the Blue Bell ice cream licker, after the brand they contaminated. Needless to say, the upload immediately hit viral status, garnering over 10 million views and nearly 60,000 retweets. It became so notorious that Blue Bell themselves had to make two separate statements addressing the controversy, first with a tweet on their brand account, and later with a more elaborate press release on their website. With the company unable to provide more details themselves, they informed the public of warning signs that a product may be tampered with, as well as announcing they'd informed authorities of the incident. Of course, awareness of law enforcement's involvement has never stopped armchair detectives before, and this case was no different. The mob was riled, and more than anything else, they wanted to figure out who was responsible, not only to make them suffer, but also to determine whether or not this was a one-off incident, as such disregard for others' health had dangerous implications. Unfortunately for internet sleuths, the person behind the viral tweet cropped out the perpetrator's username in the video, making uncovering its origin difficult. Many suspects were suggested by Twitter, however none seemed to quite match up with the woman seen in the upload. That is until 2 days later, when a substantial lead did surface in the form of an alleged screenshot from the contaminator. Outing them as a person using the screen name Asia, the account had published the clip with the following caption: "Yeah, I really did that. You can call it Blue Bell ice cream now because I was a little sick last week. Repost yourself doing this with the hashtag Tin Roof Challenge, and let's see if we can start an epidemic." Literally. This post was seemingly published long after its virality. However, the profile contained other images of the young lady no one had seen before. This made it just convincing enough to be accepted by the public, and as a result, incensed them even further. After all, it now seemed that the act was not just a dim-witted impulsive dare, but an actively malicious attempt to start a global outbreak. This reinforced fears of repeat offenses. But even worse was the attempt to turn it into a viral trend. As we've seen in the past, people are extremely susceptible to such fads, no matter how harmful or self-destructive they are. This made its spread all the more troubling, and the urgency to bring them to justice all the more important. With a name and face now attached to the culprit, the next step was to determine where the video had taken place. The Twitter investigation unit was able to surmise by the layout of the store that it took place in a Walmart, and likely occurred somewhere in Texas due to the newly found profile. The account specifically claimed that she lives somewhere in San Antonio. They also surmised that the cameraman was her boyfriend who lived in Houston at the time. This meant that if caught, the licker could face serious criminal charges, with Texas Penal Code dictating that even just threatening to tamper with a consumer product is a second-degree felony. Those found guilty face 2 to 20 years of jail time as well as up to a $10,000 fine. Many people began contacting local law enforcement, only to be told by multiple police stations that they weren't involved in the case at all. You see, while it was true that the perpetrators did live in the aforementioned cities, during law enforcement's own investigation, they were able to determine that the dirty deed occurred in the city of Lufkin, as the couple had been visiting family there. So on July 3rd, the Lufkin Police Department penned an official call to action on their Facebook page, asking the public to help with the identification. identification. They included 2 new images of suspects retrieved from store surveillance video, giving a better view of not just the perpetrator but also finally revealing her partner in crime. Alongside it, they wrote an in-depth explanation of how they narrowed the search down. Earlier this week, social media commenters identified the woman seen licking a half-gallon of tin roof as being from San Antonio. A store display case matching the one in the video could not be found. The search then went to Houston Walmart stores after investigators learned the identified woman may be living with a boyfriend in that area. Again, a store display case matching the one in the video could not be found. Earlier this morning, Bluebell Corporate instructed all of its division managers to see if they could identify the store location. Within an hour of the corporate plea, a Lufkin division manager called, saying he believed it was Lufkin Walmart. They concluded by stating all half-gallons of the Bluebell flavor tampered with had been removed from shelves, costing the frozen treat manufacturer not only inventory but also a blow to their public image, at no fault of their own. Luckily, it appears that this preventative action stopped any customers from purchasing the contaminated goods. With all of these revelations, the case's conclusion seemed imminent. And sure enough, on July 5th, the public finally heard the news they'd been waiting for, that the Bluebell ice cream liquor had been apprehended. As it turns out, the delinquent who'd been at the forefront of the entire ordeal wasn't even a fully grown woman, and reportedly under the age of 17. Because of this, she was legally considered a juvenile and not able to be publicly identified by law enforcement. And to the dismay of Twitter, it also led her to receive leniency, with the details of her case made private, though the internet did get a hold of her docs by other means. They did note that her boyfriend was an adult, and prosecutors would consider pressing charges for his involvement. However, to this day, it's not publicly known how either were sentenced, though it appears that they both got off with merely a slap on the wrist. Interestingly, much of the police department's official statement concerns complications during the investigation, specifically in regards to social media. They revealed that the supposed screenshot discussed earlier of her boasting about having the flu had been fabricated, calling it a quote-unquote catfish. However, many were skeptical of this claim, as if it was faked, it would have needed to be orchestrated by someone familiar with the teenager, as it contained real photos of her and the handle was only 1 letter away from the perpetrator's actual account at the time. This wasn't detectives' only hindrance, however. They wrote that the investigation was made unnecessarily difficult due to roughly 4 to 6 other women with similar screen names and appearances that had to be crossed off the suspect list beforehand. While this conclusion may seem anticlimactic, given that the couple's fate was never made known, there is resolve in the fact that justice came rather quickly and all the potentially affected products were removed. While Asia and her boyfriend seem to have evaded serious jail time, the same cannot be said for those who attempted to follow in their footsteps. We'll learn more about these other Tin Roof Challenge copycats after a brief word from our sponsor. It feels like in recent times, men's body grooming has become more important than ever before, and this is where Manscaped comes into play. For this video, they actually hooked me up with a bunch of stuff from their all-in-one Performance Package 4.0 kit. While there's plenty of stuff in here that I love to go over, the Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer is the true standout. This waterproof trimmer with advanced skin-safe technology reduces nicks and cuts on the most sensitive regions of the body. On top of this, it includes a super smart cordless charging system that has 30 minutes of juice on a full charge. And let's not forget about the Weed Whacker. It's a wireless nose trimmer with the same skin-safe technology. So to try out this amazing line of products for yourself, go to manscaped.com today and get 20% off plus free international shipping plus 2 free gifts when you use promo code MARS at checkout. If you recall, early on in the Twitter hunt for the ice cream liquor, the author of the screenshots had attempted to turn the video from a one-off misdeed into a viral challenge. Despite the Tin Roof Challenge hashtag supposedly being entirely fabricated, it's perhaps no surprise that some people interpreted it seriously, as a chance for internet stardom. The fear of copycats became such a problem that grocery stores began locking their freezers in order to combat the onslaught of fame-hungry angry teenagers. Photographs started making their rounds of customers requiring employee assistance to even just open the ice cream case. These provisions put in place didn't stop perpetrators though, as the lawbreakers didn't just stick with frozen goods, as evident by the viral copycat who swallowed mouthwash before spitting it back into the container. A scroll through of the hashtag revealed most of the entries to be parody, in which they subvert expectations by simply purchasing the consumable like a normal person. But unfortunately, genuine troublemakers were prevalent, with one of the most notable occurring just one day after the initial perpetrator's arrest. That July, a 36-year-old man in Louisiana named Lenise Lloyd Martin III posted a video of himself on Facebook, performing the challenge, looking around nervously before licking it, sticking his finger into the container and placing it back. Having uploaded it under his real name, Lloyd was quickly arrested and thrown in jail. When confronted, he reportedly told police that all I wanted to do was be famous. Interestingly, he was able to produce a receipt proving that he actually purchased the ice cream afterward, and thus was surprised to be arrested as he felt like he hadn't done anything wrong. Because the act had been done before he purchased the product, however, it was still considered criminal mischief. He was also charged under an obscure state law which made it illegal to post videos of oneself committing criminal activities for publicity. Because of this, 1 year later he pleaded guilty and was ordered to either pay a fine or work 34 hours of community service. A similar series of events occurred a month later in August of 2019, when a 24-year-old Texan named Adrian Anderson filmed himself participating in the trend. Just like Lloyd, he also purchased the product off camera. But due to a stunt, Bluebell was forced to remove thousands of dollars worth of products yet again, after concern for public safety. He was likewise charged with criminal mischief and ordered to pay over $2,000 in restitution to the company. Adrian was sentenced in March of 2020 to 30 days in jail as well as 180-day probation. However, during that period, he violated the agreement by trespassing, which alongside his failure to show up for meetings resulted in him being forced to serve the full 180 days in jail without bond. It may seem unfair to some that these two men were forced to pay fines and even serve jail time when both purchased the ice cream they licked afterwards, considering the original girl behind the trend actually put hers back for someone to buy and faced much less repercussion. But remember, not only did they cost stores and companies thousands of dollars in inventory, but also impacted public trust in the safety of their food. Since Asia Valaru was a minor and avoided major punishment, it's been assumed law enforcement was looking to make examples out of these copycats. Lloyd Martin's lawyer even pointed out that his client's case was a highly aggressive arrest based on a seldom used statute that was constitutionally questionable. What's most interesting about this case is that even though it was a fairly recent phenomenon, in a post-pandemic world, the actions of these parties seem especially unthinkable. Living in a post-pandemic world, I hope that we never have to see any challenges similar to this again, but knowing the internet, we probably will. And with that thought, I think I'll end the video here. So until next time, thanks for watching.